It is time to take down all the enemies and OTK your opponents with the Justimon deck by switching into its various arm forms. Digimon fans, welcome back, and today we'll be showcasing the Justimon Deck Profile. Justimon is definitely one of the cooler Digimons from the Digimon Tamers series, and just like the show, he is able to switch his arms into different modes, which includes Blitz Arm, Critical Arm, and the newest Accel Arm for the card game. The deck actually has tons of tools, which includes removal, gaining DP, and unsuspending. By switching through Justimon's various forms, you can OTK your opponents in style. Like always, I got the combo guide to teach you guys how it all works after the deck profile, so let's begin showing you guys what we got for the build today. Starting off with our Digi-Egg cards, we've got the 4 copies of Hopmon, which is the dedicated egg for Justimon in general. Because it's inheritable, it's your turn while you have a Black Tamer in play. This Digimon gets extra 1000 DP. We're always going to be intending to have a Black Tamer in play, if not even multiples. So this effect really just synergizes with the deck very greatly. And 4 eggs is really all you need. Okay, let's talk about our rookies. Super important and critical rookie for the deck is definitely this promo Rizamon here. It's just really good with its inheritable mainly, because if your Digimon is black and has 13,000 DP or more, it gains security +1. Really important to give you that aggression that you need and the extra damage to actually potentially OTK your opponent. So you're always going to want to be seeing this card and digivolving into it as much as possible. And then its main effect is that all of your Digimon that are black with 13,000 DP or more gain piercing, which comes in handy every now and then. Otherwise, like I mentioned earlier, the most important part of the effect you're trying to utilize is from its inheritable for this overall. So yeah, really important card for the deck. Next, we got 4 copies of Hagurumon on play, trashing 1 card with Machine or Cyborg in its traits. Digimon specifically, you get to draw 2, so draw power is important, draw power is nice, and yeah, this is what you really want to play, and many of your cards in your deck are Cyborg in its traits anyways, or particular Machine, so it helps out very nicely. Then to round off for all of our rookies, we got both of the Floodgate rookies. We got 2 Chumons and 2 Chikurimons as well. Chumon to stop your opponents from gaining memory, Chikurimon to counter any Digimon that sort of do cross hard plays, reduce hard play costs and such. And yeah, a 2-2 balance is actually really good for the moment, and that's basically it. There's one quick thing I want to tell you guys. I actually posted this deck list on the Avault Club membership already a while ago. So if you guys want to see early exclusive community posts or first draft deck lists and constant updates for all the deck profiles that I make, then be sure to join the Avault Club membership right now by clicking on the join button. I'll also leave links with the icon on the top right and in the description box down below. Also, if you guys haven't done so yet, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, as it really helps, and thank you guys so much for the support, and I really greatly appreciate it. Moving into our level 4s, we got 3 copies of Strike-Dramon, which is the Digivolution part of being along with Justimon in particular. It has a when digivolving effect, revealing the top 4 cards of your deck, adding yourself 1 Black Tamer among them to your hand and place the rest back to the bottom. It also has a very neat inheritable, because when attacking once per turn, you have a 2 or more Black Tamers in play, you get to gain 1 memory. So gaining that memory helps you extend a little bit more with your combos and do more plays with your Justimon switches, and yeah, really cool. So 3 is really all I have. Then, that is because I like to prioritize more on Guardramon in particular. This one is a blocker, however, it can't attack, but it has 6000 DP, which is kind of nice, and it has the inheritable of when attacking, you may trash 1 Digimon card with Machine or Cyborg in its traits from your hand to draw 2 cards. Just like Hagurumon, turboing more draw power, finding more pieces is always very nice. And I definitely want to see this card a bit more often, simply because of its inheritable, so yeah. Then we got 2 copies of Grumblemon. Hybrid for game is always nice. Like I mentioned, this deck has a lot of Black Tamers that we play anyway, so there's a lot of situations we can easily sneak in from extra checks, extra swings to go for these hybrid plays. To do extra attacks is always really good ways to sort of play. That's it for level 4s. Let's talk about our level 5s, where we have sort of the main Digimon on this particular build. Also a main one for Justimon line, where we have the 4 copies of Cyberdramon. lots of value with this card because when digivolving, you get to play one Ryo from your hand without paying its memory cost. Super crucial because Ryo is super important for this deck. And then also your turn, while you have no Tamers in play, this Digimon can't attack players, but simply because you're always utilizing its effect of when digivolving to bring out a Ryo, you don't have to worry about that as much. It has a very interesting inheritable as well, because when attacking once per turn, if you have 2 or more black Tamers in play, you get to de-digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon, which is very nice to sort of board control a little bit and actually like help you potentially swing over stuff too whenever you need it, and get rid of your opponent's big boss Digimon or really crucial Digimon is really what you're looking for with this particular effect. And yeah, Cyberdramon is just absolutely fantastic because you definitely want to maximize 4 of, mainly because like I mentioned, it brings out Ryo for free. And then for the other level 5, we play 3 copies of the Volcanomon. It has blocker itself, but mainly we also play for its inheritable. Simple, easy security +1 with no caveats whatsoever. So it's always very nice. Paying the 4 memory may be a little bit steep sometimes to digivolve on top of a level 4, but it does pay off because you really want to have that security +1 in order to help you fulfill as much as the OTK potential as possible. That's it for our level 5s. Let's showcase our level 6s, where of course it's all going to be about Justimon right here. And starting off with, we got the 4 copies of Justimon, Blitz Arm, and he does a whole lot of stuff. First, he digivolves with 3 on top of a level 5 black, which is really memory efficient and very nice. I like to call this like the almost new version of Tactimon because he has so many really cool effects that you can actually pull off. When digivolving, you get to activate one of the effects below. So you get to choose out of the 3 that this Digimon gets extra 2000 DP for the turn, or you can unsuspend this Digimon, or you get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 5 or less. Now, its second effect is when attacking. Once per turn, for each Tamer you have in play, activate this Digimon's when digivolving effects. So the more Tamers you rack up, the more value it is, because if you rack up 2 or 3 Tamers, let's just say you rack up 3 Tamers on the board, then you can activate all 3 of his when digivolving effects when it is attacking, which is very nice. And you always really want to be either giving it extra DP, you can unsuspend itself so that it can swing again to potentially basically do a lot of damage, or you get to pop things as well. And it's always very nice for sure with Justimon Blitz Arm, and this is your main Justimon that you always want to focus and see as soon as possible. But wait, there is actually more than that just with the Justimon. Let's start off with the brand new one from BT11 with all the different forms that we want to showcase, with the first one being Justimon Accel Arm. It costs 4 to digivolve on top of a black level 5, otherwise you mainly really want to be digivolving it for 1 on top of a Digimon with Justimon in its name, so any of its other forms works very nicely. Now, when digivolving, by returning one of your level 6 Digimon card without Justimon Accel Arm in its name, particularly from this Digimon's Digivolution sources, that Digimon will get to gain security +1 and piercing for the turn. This effect is really just trying to prevent you from digivolving Accel Arm on top of Accel Arm over and over again and looping this kind of effect. But it's just really nice because it gives you, again, like security +1 and piercing is really all you need to sort of do extra damage to your opponents. And it has a 12k base, which is very nice. And of course, you gain more DP with various effects, especially being with Justimon Blitz Arm as well. And then it has a secondary effect of when attacking, if you have a Tamer in play, this Digimon can digivolve into a Digimon card with Justimon in its name other than Accel Arm in your hand for paying 2 Digivolution costs instead and ignoring the Digivolution requirement. So it's very nice when you get to combo and loop your Justimons over and over again to do more unsuspending and, you know, basically do a lot of damage and swing multiple times. That's really what it's all about. But don't worry, I'll show you guys how it all works later in the combo segment. But Accel Arm with his newest edition, I like it a lot because this is your aggression type Justimon that you get to have here. Then for the other one, we got Critical Arm, Justimon Critical Arm right here. Very efficient because it costs 3 to digivolve on top of black level 5. Otherwise, again, very similar. You digivolve for 1 on top of a Digimon with Justimon in its name. Very similar to Accel Arm. This one is when digivolving by returning 1 card with Justimon in its name other than Critical Arm from its sources back to its hand. You delete one of your opponent's Digimon with play cost 9 or less. So you guys can see it, since you're comboing with Cyberdramon sometimes, you can actually like pop something like de-digivolve something and then pop something pretty big and decent. And yeah, that's what makes this card kind of decent too. And then it's when attacking is actually exactly the same as Accel Arm. It lets you digivolve back into a Justimon, but just don't digivolve into a critical arm for the cost of 2, ignoring digivolution requirements. So once again, this one's like the removal type version, the control one, and yeah, really cool card for sure. That's it for all of our Digimon. Let's talk about our Tamers. We definitely play Ryo, and I decided to play 3 copies of this guy right here because we see him well enough. There's other Tamers I kind of want to prioritize instead, as it gives us other value, but let's just talk about Ryo first. On play, it is a searcher, grabbing yourself a Dramon or Justimon its name among them to your hand by revealing top 4, which is fantastic. Also, your turn, when you attack with a black Digimon, you get to suspend him to give it extra 1000 DP until the end of your opponent's turn. So pretty nice, pretty neat, but that's really all what he's there for, and that's really what he does. You definitely want to play him to synergize along with Cyberdramon mostly, so you don't really want to be playing it by paying the cost, and unless you really have to. But that's it. That's the main tamer of the deck. But otherwise, there's another tamer that I like to kind of prioritize more right here, where we have 4 copies of Kazu. If you guys want to prefer, do 4 Ryos and 3 Kazus instead, just because you want to see Ryo for a bit more consistency, totally go for it. That's just my personal preference and suggestion there, right there. But with Kazu, at the start of your main phase, if you have Digimon with Cyborg or Machinist traits, you gain a memory, which is going to be really crucial because you want to have quite a bit of memory so that you can safely go into your Justimon combos and plays over and over again. And having more memory lets you do that. And not only that, because all turns when one of your Digimon with Cyborg or Machinist traits becomes suspended, you can draw a card and trash a card from your hand to cycle even more pieces. So again, finding pieces is always more of my priority when it comes to consistency, and that's the reason why I decided to play for Kazus. And then to sum it all off, we have 2 Izzies, which is being the memory tamer, super crucial. Also on play, you get to sort of reveal the top 3 cards of your deck and rearrange them, and gain a memory back if it's black, making it very memory efficient as a 3-cost memory tamer, which is always fantastic. Security lets you play it, and if ever your opponent might be at 0 at their memory gauge, you can potentially become like a Hammer Spark to end their turn, which is fantastic, and I really like that as well. And once again, being able to rearrange the setup ahead of time to know what you're trying to draw into, what you're trying to get into, can help a lot with Izzy overall. So yeah, definitely the 2 for sure. That's it for all of the tamers. Let's talk about our options. 3 black memory boosts. Like I mentioned, memory is quite important, so delay 2 memory is always fantastic. And then it's searching for another black Digimon that you need in the early stages of the games. Very, very great setup, and a really important key staple to most black decks anyways, since it is black memory boost. And then for the final option that I play in this deck is win rate 60%, which is really, really helpful, because if you have a tamer in play, you get to use the option without meeting any color requirements. So the next time when one of your Digimon would digivolve this turn, you get to trash 1 card from your hand with the same color as that digivolving Digimon to reduce the memory cost by 4. And we basically play essentially black for every single Digimon card we have in the deck anyways. Synergizes very well. We mentioned we want to turbo into Justimon as soon as possible so that we can switch modes and switch arms as often as we can. So preserving as much memory as you can. If you can't gain memory, preserving memory is definitely a good way to do it. So effectively paying for 2 costs, you can digivolve your Cyberdramon, your level 5 straight into Justimon for 2 costs instead. And because that you played win rate. So really, really cool key card, and I like it a lot for sure. Okay, that's it for the 50 card main deck. Now let's showcase you guys some other cards that we want to talk about and we might consider when we're playing, and some of you guys may actually want to sort of switch in as well. The first card right here is Monodramon. You guys might be shocked or surprised and might be wondering, why don't I play Monodramon? Well, very, very, very simple reason. It has an on-play effect that reveals the top 4 cards, adding all black tamers cards among them to your hand, and you place the rest back to the bottom in any order. Now, that's really all he does. He has an on-play effect, but he doesn't give you any inheritable that is really, really useful. Searching for tamers is crucial for this deck, I will acknowledge that. However, I feel like I have enough draw power usually anyways, as I'm cycling through cards through digivolving or playing my Hagurumons or using my Guardramons and whatnot to sort of find those cards I need. And I think it's just more efficient to do that because you also want to fish for pieces for your Justimon different arm modes as well at the same time. And this can actually potentially bottom deck some of those really important pieces while you're actually grabbing your black tamers. And overall, I feel Monodramon is a little bit too slow, and it does not provide an inheritable, which is the main reason why I decided not to play this one in this deck. Now, for our other level 4s, I actually want to suggest 2 different kinds of Sealsdramons that you can play. Now, there's only one very good reason why we're considering playing these cards. They have no synergy whatsoever other than it being a cyborg. Because you play Hagurumon, because you play Guardiamon, you may sometimes run out of cyborg pieces that you can trash. Not everything you have in the deck is cyborg in particular, so if you want to up your cyborg counts to keep that consistency going, then these are pretty decent level 4s to play in instead of my current lineup. Sealsdramon from EX3 is pretty great because it has the jamming. You can do some early sort of chips to your opponents, but it's inhurtable, doesn't provide you any value whatsoever. As for the original BT4 Sealsdramon, it is blocker, so it can be decent at times as well. And yeah, it really just comes down to your own personal preference. And speaking of blocker, another cyborg or machine that I decided to add is Mechanorimon right here. It can be pretty decent against certain matchups, especially if your opponent tries to swing in a lot with their rookies in the early stages of games. This guy can hold down the fort, which is very, very nice. So just always Mechanori, a very decent consideration. And then for another Digimon, of course, like always, there is Defexmon right here. Now, again, not highly necessary for this deck. It's really just like matchup dependent. Sometimes Defex is great against certain matchups or against specific situations and scenarios. But the main reason I didn't include this in the main deck initially is, first, not everyone has access to Defex and not everyone wants to play Defex either. But also mainly it's that your top end with all the different kinds of Justimons you have is already taking up a lot of slots. There's really no room to fit in another top end boss Digimon because then it's just going to make it very clunky and bricky. So again, I want to prioritize on maximizing the consistency with all my Justimon different arm types. So therefore there's actually no room for Defex, but if you guys really want to have one, you got to make some room for it yourself. Now for the other option type of cards, we of course have Justice Kick being Justimon's like signature move. It's very interesting because when you would use this card, you get to reduce the cost by 1 for each tamer you have in play. It is a 12 cost option, which is very, very expensive. But what it does, it lets you play a Digimon card with Justimon in its name from your hand without paying its memory cost. And if you do, you delete one of your opponent's Digimon with play cost less than or equal to that Digimon you played. So it actually gives you quite a bit of value. Being able to slap down a Mega straight off the board like that and then popping something is nice. There's a lot of synergy because we do play a lot of black tamers, and sometimes you can rack up enough to reduce this cost all the way down to like really low and pretty memory efficient and effective. That is definitely nice. But however, I feel like those kind of situations rarely happen in this deck overall, and like I mentioned, I really just want to focus on building stack, drawing cards instead, and sort of find my pieces that way. And there's really no opportunity for you to actually play Justice Kick because it really takes a long time for you to rack up enough tamers in order for it to be memory efficient. Neither you want to give your opponent too much memory, and there's only very specific scenarios that actually works by doing so when you play a card like this. Otherwise, the security lets you play a black tamer card from your hand without paying its memory cost, and you get to add it to your hand, which is kind of decent as well. So if anything, if you guys really want to add this card, I think a one-off is not too bad as just as a tech. I played it before, but I never ever found an opportunity for me to actually use it effectively. So that's just my personal opinion on that. And then of course, otherwise, because like I mentioned, if you want removal type cards, Ultimate Flare and Iron Fisted Onslaught are more suitable sort of like security bombs for the deck. And as we all know, Ultimate Flare de-digivolving 3 and then popping everything that's like 3 costs or less, really great for clearing wide boards. Iron Fisted Onslaught, great for popping bigger stuff and potentially if they add multiple things with the same highest play cost too. Alright, that's it for all the cards I want to talk about and show you guys for this particular build. So now let's move on to the how to play and the combo segment of showing you guys how Justimon works, and I'm super excited because this is like really, really cool. Super underrated as well. Anyways, so of course you hatch your egg, and early stages of the game, you actually want to be, hard playing your Hagurumons to trash cyborgs and machines from your hand to draw more cards. These are sort of like some important decisions you want to make as you go, so you have to pitch away some cards that you might not want to sort of see as often, and hopefully you might find some again and whatnot. And otherwise, of course, playing like your Black Memory Boost to set up is really good. Playing your Izzy and playing your Kazu just to set up when you have opportunities, because they give you a lot of value when you're ready to pop off later on, which is going to be really crucial. Use Kazu when you ever try to chip with your Hagurus on the board. Use Kazu so then you can draw one, trash one, cycle through more pieces. Don't be afraid to throw away some important pieces in the early stages of the game, such as your Cyborg, such as your Justimon and whatnot with Hagurumon. You'll find them back with Kazu later on anyways. So most importantly, you just want to be seeing a stack that you can build and cycle through. So as you're building your stack, Tsunorizumon is always the priority. Once you see Tsunorizumon, that's the one I immediately Digivolve for sure, 100% without thinking twice, really, most cases. And sometimes you don't really have the luxury, so if you have a Hagurumon extra, or you have another rookie that you have that doesn't have the inheritable, you may just have to Digivolve if you see a line of stack anyways. But don't worry, if you miss out on the Tsunoriza Security +1, there's a way to sort of come back for it anyways, which is kind of nice. And then you can Digivolve into Strike-Dramon next, really depending if you really want to find your Tamers or not. Sometimes I usually just want to be protected in the raising, so I don't really want to be affected by anything. That's why I Digivolve Strike-Dramon in the raising area. But if you want to move it out and then sort of utilize its searching effect, then go for it. If not, that's really where you want to stay. The next two cards you really want to see is either your Cyberdramon or your Volcanomon. Volcanomon is very straightforward. You Digivolve in the back in the raising, since it doesn't really provide you much on play or when Digivolving type of effects and whatnot, so you can sit tight and it gives you that security +1. If you miss out on Tsunorizumon, that's the opportunity for you to come back with Volcanomon, so you always want to make sure you kind of have one to sort of security +1 effect going on with this stack. Otherwise, you can Digivolve into Cyberdramon. Of course, with Cyberdramon, then you want to move out to the battle area. So then when you Digivolve into Cyberdramon, it lets you play Ryo for free. That's really the maximum value type of things. You never really want to be playing Ryo by paying memory because of the effect of Cyberdramon letting you play it for free. It's just way too much value to do so. And then by playing Ryo, you get to search your top deck to grab more Justimons and Dramons and whatnot to find more pieces to go on. And of course, you want to be seeing all these different kind of Justimon pieces. Now, the really cool thing is you don't really need all of them to pull off these really cool combos. There's many ways that you can actually pull off the OTK in particular. So let's just say you're in this particular situation already with Cyberdramon, with Tsunoriza, and your opponent starts you at 3 memory. So, of course, you draw your card and you hatch your egg or whatever, and then Kazu at the start of the main phase gives you another memory because you do have a cyborg on board, being Cyberdramon right here. Now, there's 2 ways you can go at it. If you feel like you want to be risky and you feel like your Cyberdramon strong enough, you can go ahead and swing at your opponent's security. Otherwise, I usually like to use my Hagurumons and sort of my lower end Digimon to chip it away instead for safer and not really necessarily swing in with Cyberdramon, because Cyberdramon maximum wise you can really go up to 12 KDP with Ryo and Hotmon combination, and that's really it. And if you swing into something that's pretty big, it's all over, so you don't really want to have that. But yeah, know your matchups so that, you know, make your decisions. If you want to high roll that way, go for it, but if not, you can simply Digivolve for 3 into Justimon Blitz Arm. Now, when Digivolving, you can only activate one of the following effects anyways. You can either unsuspend him, pop a 5 cost or less, or gain 2000 DP. So the priority is, like I mentioned, DP is going to be more important here, so I will always want to give it extra 2000 DP. So now at this moment, Justimon will be extra 2000 DP, extra 1 right here with Ryo potentially, so then you can be at 15 KDP all in total, which is very, very safe. Anyways, what you want to do now is just go ahead and swing with Justimon, and of course, the most value is when you have 3 Tamers, but let's just say you have 2 instead and whatnot. Really sort of juggle and utilize and all those different effects. Of course, don't forget to suspend Ryo, don't forget to suspend Kazu to sort of get all your maximizing value. Ryo being more important, that you gain that extra 1k. Keep in mind, Ryo gives you that extra 1000 until the end of your opponent's turn too. Now you get to activate all of Justimon's effects. It can unsuspend, pop a 5 cost or less, and gain extra 2000 DP once again. So now he'll be at 17. You can even juggle between the sequencing with Cyberdramon and its de-digivolving to pop something that's 5 costs or less afterwards too. So if you want to go ahead and do that, you can definitely do that, because you can actually Cyberdramon de-digivolve and then pop something afterwards, which works very nicely. Strike-Dramon's going to gain you another memory back right here. And because Tsunorizumon, right now your Justimon is so big, it will be doing 2 checks for sure. Next, what you want to be doing is you're going to be wanting to Digivolve into one of these Justimons here. Whether if it's Critical Arm or Accel Arm, really depends on you. Both of them work just as great, but I'll show you guys for both. Let's go into Accel Arm first this time. So you only pay 1 cost right here, and then Accel Arm, when Digivolve it, you can return Justimon back to your hand so that you can get back into it later. So now it will gain security +1 and piercing. You can swing for essentially 3 checks. Keep in mind, it gains those extra 2000 DPs that you've gained for the turn. So Justimon Accel Arm right now should be at 18 KDP with all those additional buffs it got. and then it swings for 3 checks. So of course, hoping that you don't swing into Security Bomb. That's the only downside of this deck if you don't have any like security option protection. But if you do swing through all of it, that's basically 5 checks in one go. Now, if you do have enough memory to sort of work around and play around, you could have popped your memory boost earlier on, and you're most likely to be seeing at least one throughout all stages of the game. If you, as long as you have one black memory boost, you would have definitely popped it earlier, so then you can then Digivolve it into Justimon for a cost of 2 here. Now, by Digivolving into that, now Justimon can finally unsuspend once again. And like I said, your opponent should have 5 security, and all 5 security is basically blown out completely from all your attacks. You can finish the game with Justimon here. If you don't want to do that, you do have an alternative method, which is very simple. Of course, as always, you can go into Grumble for game for 2 memory instead if you can't finish all those checks in one go. That's another alternative way. But yeah, Accel Arm is definitely the most optimal way to sort of finish your opponents off. Now, on the other hand, if you didn't have Cyberdramon and you have Volcanomon in your stack instead, now you're even stronger in terms of damage. You can actually just swing twice, or again 3 times, and then all your opponent's security will be completely cleared out. And yeah, like you go into Accel Arm, that's like 4 checks in total even, as a matter of fact, if you want to go for that big play as well. Now, let's just go back a little bit, rewind here to Blitz Arm, and let's just say, yeah, you just finished popping the memory boost. And then this time you want to Digivolve into your Critical Arm instead, and then you can pop something that is like sort of 9 costs or less by returning the Justimon back to your hand. And the exact same thing as before, you swing here and then you Digivolve for 2 into Justimon Blitz Arm, which is going to be pretty neat. And then again, Justimon Blitz Arm will get to unsuspend, activate all those effects once again, gaining all of them. Or really mainly you use this when Digivolving to sort of unsuspend first, and then you can attack once more. Now, because again you have 3 Tamers, you can then activate all those other 3 effects as well again, which is really nice. So that's another way to finish off the game. So that's really how you sort of want to switch modes and play Justimon, and that's basically how the OTK combos work for this particular build. That'll wrap up for the deck profile for today. If you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful, please give it a like. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, or questions, be sure to share it with everyone in the comments down below. We got lots more Digimon videos and content coming, so be sure to hit that subscribe button right now, turn on that notification bell to stay tuned. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you next video, and Avault signing out.